So I purchased a bunch of watches recently from Casio, and the one I was most intrigued by was this. Now this may be, on the surface, the most confusing watch release of the year so far, because the way Casio has released this, I'm not sure anyone knows this exists or quite what it is, and I'm really not sure of the latter myself. You see, this is part of the Edifice series, and this watch is supposedly the EFK 110D. Now, this may ring a bell to those of you who watch YouTube reviews of watches as being an incredibly similar codename to another watch, the EFK 100D, which was Casio's first automatic. Now, this 110D version came up on the website recently, and, well, I couldn't tell the difference, because on the surface, it seems basically identical to the last one. The only perceivable difference I can tell from the listing page is basically that this one says 38mm, whereas the last one said 39mm. Now, luckily, I've still got hold of my previous EFK 100 here, and I've ordered this new one in the same colour, so we can take a look and see if there really are any differences, or what those differences are, perhaps. And if you're considering one of these Casio automatics, which one is worth it? I do hope this fixes some of the problems with the last one. Now, you'll find this watch affiliate linked in the video description. This one set me back how much? £270 it is on the Casio site. Yeah, I've seen so little footage of this watch online, this EFK 110D. I think that's because, yeah, people just can't tell the difference or didn't realise that this was actually a new release or a different watch. And it released so quickly after the first one too. It's not like it was a different colour or a different dial particularly, but let's see. It's marginally different. So here it is, the new Edifice EFK 110D, and boy oh boy does this look similar. This looks on the surface like exactly the same watch. Is there any perceivable differences between the two? I mean, not much on the surface. Maybe it is a hair smaller. Let's see. I set those hands to the same direction. And this is the navy blue version, by the way. Sorry if it's a little bit hard to tell. Part of that is just the crystal on these watches. And maybe that one on the left is a hair smaller. We'll get the calipers on it in a moment. I'm going to have to get really close on this one. Now, I have to say, if you look really closely, well, from a distance, you would never be able to tell. The kind of swooshy, slightly engraved pattern on the dial is ever so slightly different between the two. Not even sure it's possible to tell on camera, but that arrangement is a hair different. So I guess also the position of the date wheel has changed too. So on the previous version, it had this rather symmetrical and, in my opinion, quite nice position there down at 6, whereas this one has the more traditional seat there at 3 o'clock instead. So maybe a downgrade as far as that's concerned. Also seems to be bobbing along there at the same beat rate as the last one. Is this using the same movement again? On the case back, it just says Japan Movement DW Automatic. Oh, and yeah, this says Miyota. It doesn't say exactly which one. It does say 21 joules, which suggests to me this is a Miyota 8000 series unit. You see, the thing with Casio is, not only are the dimensions a little bit difficult to trust on their watches, and often not very accurate, they never actually state the movement, which, I don't know, that seems a bit silly to me. It just says winding mechanism automatic with manual winding. So, not the most descriptive. I'm sure that last one was Seiko instead, wasn't it? Yeah, the last one was Seiko NH35A. You see, that one actually says on the rotor, whereas this one doesn't. Almost certain this will be a Miyota 8210 series of some sort. It looks like it. And you know what? I wonder if this is as a result of the movement shortage. So there were rumours when Casio released the original EFK 100 here on the right that they basically gobbled up all the supply of the Seiko NH series movements. So between them and Seiko themselves, there was few left for anyone else. So the prices of them rocketed, making them maybe a bit less viable, and maybe it's even hit Casio now. Maybe they've had to jump ship to Miyota, although it does seem that both are still available on the Casio site at the time of writing. So aside from maybe a hair difference on the width, that's kind of the choice you're making, even though they seem identical on the Casio website. Now, I've personally had slightly better experiences with the Seiko movements, actually, and I also just prefer the date wheel position on this one, though they generally do offer quite similar performance, these two movements. Here's a closer look at that movement. Not exactly a stunner, same could be said of the previous one. But if you're new to mechanical watches, it is pretty cool to be able to come and see the thing that's actually powering your watch in there. And it has got that signed Casio rotor at least. Outside of that, these watches seem absolutely identical. Maybe it is a hair slimmer than the Miyota one. They do advertise on the webpage, actually. They say this is a sleek 38mm case that offers a slim, compact profile. Now, while I certainly wouldn't class this one on the left here as slim, it is slimmer, I think, than this one on the right, but we will test with the calipers. And as for crystals, well, to me, these seem absolutely identical, at least under this particular light. Don't seem to change much in that regard. Ever so slight change to the chapter ring too. Now, this one you're probably not going to be able to see, but essentially the EFK 100, the original, had maybe a slightly deeper rehort or a chapter ring, depending on what you want to call it, compared to this new one that seems a hair shallower, and the top of those marks seems closer to the crystal, which leaves this one looking a little bit more sunk in compared to this newer one, but in general incredibly similar. Let's get the sizes of both, and then we can see how much of that is placebo effect. So we'll begin with the original EFK 100 as a reminder. This was advertised as a 39mm watch, if I remember correctly, and it's actually just shy of that, about 38.9 wide, with a technical lug-to-lug of about 43.6, but if you included those solid, pretty much fixed end links, about 48.6, and a thickness, which is going to be a little bit important, of exactly 12.5mm. Compared to the new one, what have we got here? Well, it is definitely, it's almost exactly 1mm smaller, so instead of 38.8 or 38.9 was it? This one is about 37.85. And lug to lug, now this one looked quite similar, and it is pretty similar, not identical though, 43mm. And if you include those fixed end links, 48.85. What was the original one? Yeah, that is shorter. That is 48 point, well, it's under 48.7. So the smaller watch has got the longer effective lug to lug. That seems like an unusual choice, or unusual result at least. Is it steeper? Yeah, maybe it is a fraction steeper. Hard to tell there on camera. Maybe that is a little bit more angular, but not much in it. And thickness, yeah, that is noticeably different. 11.8 here compared to 12.5 on the other one. Now, the primary thing keeping me back from wearing the previous one, the EFK 100, aside from the crystal, which was pretty problematic in a lot of lighting scenarios, was just about that lug to lug. Now, I have got quite a small 6¼ inch wrist, and as such, these end links here really push the boundaries of what I can get away with, because you're just left with quite a sharpish angle on the end of the lugs. But for most people, probably wasn't a problem, and widthway is still quite a sensible choice. But let's see how this other one stacks up. Can you even tell the difference? And you know what? I think I actually marginally can tell a slight difference here. Certainly feels a touch flatter to the wrist, and I think that makes this slight overhang here maybe a hair less noticeable. Still not ideal, probably a hair too long for my arm, or at least for what I'd be really comfortable in. But it does look and feel a little bit smaller, especially this way compared to the other watch. I think the slimmer profile helps a little bit. Not sure any other elements of the watch has particularly changed. I think I saw 1 or 2 videos claiming that this was like packed with upgrades or something. I mean, I'm not particularly seeing that. It's more of a side grade as far as I'm concerned here. Well, it might help a bit if you have got a smaller arm. The last one did have 100 meters, didn't it? Yeah, 100 meters or 10 bar. So it's not like the water resistance has changed. What I'll probably do in a minute or two is just head out and have a little bit of a check of this crystal in more natural light, just to see if it still suffers from that haziness, which I think it probably will. Overall, still very well finished watch this. Do have excellent polishing and brushing on this watch, and that extends all the way down to the bracelet too. These are solid links. Yeah, these look like solid links at least. And you have got 1 micro adjustment hole there, so that's cutting it very fine. Links aren't too bad. They're not huge, but it is still pretty risky, that. Nice clasp though on these watches. So yeah, I've just taken a look at that compared to the other one in natural light, and no difference as far as the crystal goes. Nothing that I can tell anyway. And these watches in many scenarios don't look navy anymore. They look like a murky kind of light blue to grey, which is a bit of a shame, because under more harsh light like this, they do tend to look a bit better. And I'm assuming no luminescence difference. Now, the original had quite poor luminescence. I'll just do a very quick check, but yeah, we do just still have those two tiny tabs at the end of the hands. And yeah, the luminescence is very poor on this watch. No point in me even bothering to turn the light out with this one. So yeah, when you're taking a look at this new Casio Automatic online, be sure that you buy the right one or the one you want to, because despite the listings, these aren't quite the same watch. So link below. Would love to know what you think in the comment section. Are we really at such desperate times, or even the big brands are having to offer a choice of movements, not through generosity particularly, but I suspect through necessity?